Hi guys, as you can tell from the title of this video, I want to point out a few things I think fantasy writers in general should try to avoid. And I got this idea from basically going to the bookstore the other day, looking for a fantasy novel that will catch my interest and will just be a good thing just to pass time with. And I wasn't looking for anything amazing or out of this world. I was just looking for a simple, good fantasy read. And I had a hard time finding it. And so here's a list of things that I think fantasy writers should avoid if they want to, make their stories better. All right, number one, rushing things. So basically, what I mean is that I think most fantasy writers should try to really take their time to write the novel. And I know this sounds cliche and it might sound, it's pretty obvious, but I think at least 50% of the fantasy novels out there would be so much better if the writers just took their time and, tried to develop every aspect of the story and not just try to, write every day just for the sake of getting this thing done as quickly as possible. And I think this applies to everything, not just books, but TV shows, films. I think you could really tell when someone takes their time, or an author, or a screenwriter takes their time with something, because it seems just so fluid, whereas things that are rushed seem so underdeveloped and they have a lot of areas where you're like, gee, they could have explored that more or whatnot. So that's my first tip. Second tip is try to avoid too many cliches, and at the same time try to avoid being so anti-cliche to the point where it's pretty obvious. Now, cliches aren't always bad. A lot of times they do help the story, and a lot of readers love certain cliches, and that's why they work. But at the same time, too many cliches will just drown out any original element. Another thing is, don't try to be so different, so out of this world, just for the sake of being different and distinguishing yourself from other novels. And a lot of the times when there are so many unnecessarily, complex things, maybe this person in his fantasy universe has 7 different races you've never heard of because he just made them all up and it doesn't really add anything to the story, it's really not good. So don't try to be too, I guess, anti-cliche. Add a little bit of cliche and make sure that cliche develops naturally. And the last thing is, try to make the basis of your story pretty simple. Don't try to make it overly complicated. The thing was, the other day when I was going to the bookstore looking for a good book to read, I would look at the back of the book, try to see what it's about. I'd read half a page and I still have no idea. Or the idea just seems so complex, I'm like, yeah, I'm not into it. So I'm not saying make a simple story. I mean, I enjoy a complex story as much as anybody else, but at the same time, you want to catch the reader's attention pretty quick. And the way you do that is having a concise basis point for your story. And if you even if your story is more complex than that and you have to sort of somewhat shortcut it, I still think that's a good idea. So anyways, these are my short list of tips for people who want to write, especially fantasy. And I think it is something to keep in mind if you want to make your stories better. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think in the comment bar. Bye for now.